above the city, on a tall column, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes, he had 2 bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed in his sword hilt.
Stop this crying. Look, why can't you be like the Happy Prince? He never dreams of crying for anything.
Make way, where's my husband now?
Why? On my soul, 'tis a little lad. How can you cry so much in my beautiful city? Is not the Happy Prince smiling down upon you? Nay?
The Happy Prince looks so beautiful. He looks just like an angel.
The statue of the Happy Prince must surely be the finest in all Christendom. I doubt if I could have designed a better one myself.
A chill northern wind blew across the square. The autumn was about to return. In the countryside, the peasants had finished the harvest, and the change in wind told the swallows that it would soon be time to leave for Egypt.
Come away, come away, come away, come away, come let us fly to the land of sunshine, come, let us fly to the skies of blue, leave all the drab and dreary weather, come where the sun is awaiting you, don't hesitate to be late and you will miss all the fun that you have in store, we'll be together constantly, birds of a feather.
One little swallow was not interested in leaving, for he had fallen in love with a most beautiful reed.
See how agile I am! Look at me! Say you love me?
The reed would nod and bow and make the most beautiful curtsies, for that was all she could do in the wind. Finally, the trees shed their leaves. It was the sign that autumn had at last come. And they all flew away. Several weeks passed, and the little swallow felt quite lonely and began to tire of his lady love.
She has no conversation. And she's always flirting with the wind. I love traveling, and my wife consequently should love traveling also. Will you come away with me? Will you?
She shook her head. She was so attached to her home.
You have been trifling with me. Well, you shan't see me again. I am off to the pyramids. Goodbye.
All day long, the little swallow flew. By nighttime, he arrived at the city.
Where shall I stay tonight? I hope the town has made preparations. Such a fine position, with plenty of fresh air, and I have a golden bedroom. What's that?
He looks so beautiful in the moonlight. Surely he's the most handsome of all princes.
Me? A handsome prince? Why, of course.
Good night, my happy prince.
Good night. Oh, good night. Princess? What's that? What a curious thing. There is not a cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it is raining. What a dreadful climate. What is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? I must find myself a good chimney pot. Who are you?
I am the happy prince.
The happy prince. Well, if you're so happy, why are you weeping? You have quite drenched me.
When I was alive and had a human heart, I did not know what tears were, for I lived in the palace of Sans Souci, where sorrow is not allowed to enter. In the daytime, I played with my companions in the garden, and in the evening, I led the dance in the great hall. Round the garden was a very lofty wall, but I never cared to ask what lay beyond it. Everything about me was so beautiful. My courtiers called me the happy prince, and happy indeed I was, if pleasure be happiness. So I lived, and so I died. And now that I am dead, they have set me here so high I can see all the ugliness and misery of my city. And though my heart is made of lead, I cannot choose but weep.
What? Is he not solid gold?
Far away in a little street there is a poor house. One of the windows is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table. Her face is thin and worn, and she has coarse red hands all pricked by the needle, for she is a seamstress. She is embroidering a satin gown for the loveliest of the Queen's maids of honor to wear at the next court ball. In the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. He has a fever and is asking for oranges, but his mother has nothing to give him but river water. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? My feet are fastened to this pedestal, and I cannot move.
But I have no time. I must leave for Egypt. My friends are flying along the Nile at this very moment.
Little swallow, will you not stay with me for one night and be my messenger? The little boy is so thirsty, and his mother so sad.
I like boys. They always throw stones at me. They never hit me, of course. We swallows fly far too well for that. Besides, I come from a family famous for its agility. Oh, it's very cold here, but I will stay for one night and be your messenger.
my gown will be ready in time for the state ball. But the seamstresses are so lazy and unreliable.
I feel. I must be getting better.
It is curious, but I feel quite warm now, although it is so cold.
When day broke, the little swallow flew down to the river to bathe. What a remarkable phenomenon, a swallow in winter, said the professor of ornithology as he was passing over the bridge.
Tonight I go to Egypt. Tonight I go to Egypt.
Wherever he went, the sparrows chirped and said, "What a distinguished stranger." So he enjoyed himself very much.
Have you any commissions in Egypt? I am just starting.
Swallow, little swallow, far across the city, I see a young man in a garret. He's trying to finish a play for the director of the theater, but he is too cold to write anymore. There is no fire in the grate, and the hunger has made him faint.
Well, I will stay one night longer. Shall I take him another ruby?
Alas, my eyes are all I have left. They are made of very rare sapphires. Pluck one out and take it to him, so he can sell it for firewood and finish his play.
But I cannot do that.
Little swallow, do as I ask.
How could I have overlooked such a valuable gift? It must be from some great admirer. Now I can finish my play.
It's getting cold. It is time to leave. Tonight I fly to Egypt. Goodbye. I am off to Egypt. Goodbye, little sparrows. I have come to bid you goodbye.
Little swallow, will you not stay a little longer?
But it is winter, and the snow will soon be here. I must leave you, but I will never forget you. And next spring, I will bring you 2 beautiful jewels in place of those you have given away. The ruby shall be redder than a red rose, and the sapphire shall be as blue as the great sea.
In the square below, there stands a little match girl. She has let her matches fall in the gutter, and they are all spoiled. Her family is very poor, and her father will beat her if she doesn't bring home some money. Pluck out my other eye and give it to her, and her father will not beat her.
I will stay with you a little longer, but I cannot pluck out your other eye. You will be quite blind then.
Little swallow, do as I ask of you.
Oh, what a
Father. You are blind now. So I will stay with you. Always.
No, little swallow. You must go away to Egypt.
I will stay with you. Always.
As the days passed, the little swallow never left the prince's side. He sat on his shoulders and told him many stories of what he had seen in strange lands. He told him of the red ibises that stand on the banks of the Nile and catch goldfish in their beaks, and of the king of the mountains of the moon, who is as black as ebony and worships a large crystal. Dear little swallow, you tell of marvelous things, but more marvelous than anything is the suffering of men and women. There is no mystery so great as misery. Fly over my city, little swallow, and tell me what you see there.
The city streets are sad and dreary. Why are the people in despair? Their clothes are torn, their eyes are weary. Poverty is everywhere. And the rich just ignore it and they don't care. The children huddle close together, ragged and torn, their feet are bare. They bravely face the wintry weather. There's no fireside they can share, and the rich just ignore them and they don't care. Where is the justice in all that I see? There is no justice in poverty.
And so the little swallow flew back to the happy prince and told him what he had seen. I am covered with fine gold. You must take it off leaf by leaf and give it to my poor. The living always think that gold can make them happy. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold the swallow picked off, till the happy prince looked quite dull and grey. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold he brought to the poor, and the children's faces grew rosier, and they laughed and played games in the street. Then the snow came. After the snow came the frost, and the streets looked as if they were made of silver. They were so bright and glistening. Long icicles like crystal daggers hung from the eaves. And everybody went about in furs.
Goodbye, dear Prince. Will you let me kiss your hand?
I am glad that you are going to Egypt at last, little swallow. You've stayed here too long, but you must kiss me on the lips, for I love you.
It is not to Egypt I am going.
A curious crack sounded inside the statue, as if something had broken. The fact is, the leaden heart had snapped right in two. It certainly was a dreadfully hard frost.
Dear me, how shabby the Happy Prince looks. Shabby, terrible, dreadful. The ruby has fallen from his sword. His eyes have gone, and he is golden no longer. In fact, he is little better than a beggar.
Little better than a beggar.
And there is actually a dead bird at his feet. We must issue a proclamation that birds are not allowed to die here.
Birds are not allowed to die here. As he is no longer beautiful, he is no longer useful. Our city needs a new statue, and I shall ask for the privilege of designing it.
So they pulled down the statue of the Happy Prince and melted it down in a furnace. The mayor held a meeting of the corporation to decide what was to be done with the metal.
I would consider it a privilege to design a new statue.
Of course you can. And it shall be a statue of myself.
What a strange thing. This broken lead heart will not melt in my furnace. We'll have to throw it away.
And so they threw it on a dust heap, where the dead swallow was also lying. "Bring me the two most precious things in the city," said God to one of his angels. And the angel brought him the leaden heart and the dead bird. "You have rightly chosen," said God. "For in my garden of paradise this little bird shall sing forevermore. And in my city of gold the Happy Prince shall praise me."